Hi, I'm Nicola Flanagan. I'm a private antenatal teacher and perinatal wellness coach and therapist. I've recently completed a load of training in supporting women pre- and postnatally with anxiety, and it occurred to me that a lot of these skills are really valuable right now, whether you're dealing with small children at home under your feet, separated from friends and family, and struggling with any feelings of anxiety and intense worry during this pandemic. So press pause, go and make yourself a cup of tea, and come back for some tools and techniques to help. Over the last 12 months, the world around us has changed, and with it, our emotional resilience has been depleted. And it's only natural that our anxiety levels will have gone up during this time. They certainly have in my house.
And although I know the tools, recognising the signs and deploying the toolkit that I have still hasn't come naturally to me because I'm not someone who naturally suffers with anxiety. So I wasn't really on the lookout for it. So if right now you are feeling overwhelmed at some point during the day or at regular points in the day, or for some people constantly, then hopefully I'll be able to explain to you what's going on in your body, in your system right now, which is making you feel this way. And I sometimes describe it to people as feeling like a really leaky sponge, okay? So if you were a really full sponge, full of water, and every time something poked you, you leaked a little bit. And that's because at the moment, if you're feeling very anxious, all of your emotional boundaries, all of your resilience is just broken down and porous. We've got lots of holes. So if I explain a little bit to you about how your body systems work. So first and foremost, I'm a biologist really, and I do believe that if you can understand what's going on in your body, it's really helpful to understand what you can do to help manage that. And actually it makes you feel a bit better understanding what's happening. You feel like you've got a bit more control. So the thing to understand about anxiety is it's a reaction that your body kicks out as part of your autonomic nervous system. So your autonomic nervous system has two channels. It's kind of like a switch. It's either switched one way or another. Now, one side of the switch is called your parasympathetic system, and that is when you feel calm and relaxed and everything around you is fine and you're just pottering along with your day. When the switch goes the other way into your sympathetic nervous system, the name's a bit misleading. It's not sympathetic at all. The sympathetic nervous system is all about gearing your body up to react. It's where your fight or flight response sits. So when things are building up in your system and things are stressful and the stress cycle is building up and not being completed, and you're holding on to cortisol and you're holding on to adrenaline because you're finding things around you are tipping you into periods of anger or worry or fear, we get this build up in the system, and very easily our body can tip into a hyper aroused state in your sympathetic nervous system, this fight or flight. And what happens is if that continues to go on, all of these hormones, this adrenaline, this cortisol is cursing around your body, demanding action. Because if you think back to primitive cave people days, I'm always talking about primitive cave people because I'm always talking about labour and birth, but it applies to this as well. In primitive cave people days, when something was stressful and we had this fear reaction in our body, it was because we wanted to escape, and we wanted to escape probably from a danger, saber-toothed tiger, something like that. So what your body does is it breathes more rapidly, it pushes your blood pressure up, and it sends all of that oxygenated blood to your extremities so that you can escape, you can get away from the danger. But the problem is we're all sat at home now under social limiting or social isolation. There aren't any saber-toothed tigers. There might be some feral children, but quite frankly, there aren't any real dangers in our home. But we might still be having this severe anxiety and these reactions in our system that are demanding us to take action. So this fight or flight response demands action of your body. We've got all this adrenaline, we've got all this energy, we've got all the oxygen in our extremities, and it's shouting at you to do something, do something, do something. And the reality is, if we don't do something to complete the cycle and switch us back into a parasympathetic state, we stay in this hyper arousal. And the problem with that is it erodes away at various parts of your biological system. It prevents things like your gut from functioning properly. So if you're anyone who suffers with stress-related IBS, this is the link. If you're someone who has flare-ups of eczema, psoriasis, anything like that related to stress, it's because your system isn't able to function normally because you're in this constant state of hyperarousal. So this action is demanded of our body, our digestion slows down, and we have this uneasy feeling in the body. And the uneasy feeling, after a while, becomes quite intolerable because it's not welcome. We don't want to feel that way. And if we don't know how to get rid of it, we start to fear it coming on. So anxiety also has this funny paradox, which is the more that we fear the feeling of being ill at ease, the more likely it is to show up. So we've got a couple of options when dealing with anxiety, and I'm sure all of you have read some wonderful books on mindfulness and grown-up colour. Someone bought you a grown-up colouring in book? Not always that helpful. I like the idea, but the reality is, as mums currently with husbands away, children at home, not getting any work done, being constantly requested for snacks, we've not got time for colouring in, and we've not got time to go for an hour's run or an hour's lovely mindfulness meditation and yoga. Now, they're all things that are known to help complete the cycle and tip us back into a parasympathetic state, but they might be outside of your reach right now. They might not be things that you can access. So I wanted to share with you a few other ideas of things that you can do and challenge you to try and build them into your daily schedule over the next few weeks, because there are really little things that you can try and remember, maybe write them down, put a list, stick it on the fridge, and when you're feeling a little bit anxious, just pick one and try and do it. So the things that firstly I need to warn you about are eating and drugs, essentially alcohol and other drugs, do tip you back into the parasympathetic because they force you to relax. Because when you put food into your system, for your digestive system to start to function, we need to shift from the sympathetic back into the parasympathetic, which is why eating and boozing when we feel crap is quite addictive and quite dangerous. So yes, they're really short fixes, and I'm not saying don't hide in a cupboard with a packet of digestive biscuits, and I'm not saying don't have a well-deserved gin and tonic at the end of the day, but what I'm trying to say is it shouldn't be your main go-to release for built-up anxiety or feelings of ill at ease. Other things that you can do, and one of the simplest things, and I teach it in antenatal, is actually just controlled breathing. So relaxation breathing is the cornerstone to lots of meditation and yoga type practices, and there's no rocket science in it, but there is a little bit of biological science in it. So what happens is when you breathe really deeply and really fill your lungs, we suppress a load of nerve receptors that surround that are on the outside of our lungs, and in doing so we send a message, we send a signal to the body that says, I'm calm and relaxed. There couldn't be anything dangerous going on, because if there was something dangerous going on, I wouldn't be breathing slowly and deeply. I would be breathing in a shallow type way to increase the oxygen into our body and get ready for fight or flight. So slow rhythmical breathing is a way of kind of tricking your system into believing that everything's okay. So it's a tool that works. Now, there are a number of different ways of doing it, and if you've learned a method and you already use it, stick with it. If you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, the easiest method to learn is to think of a rectangle, and this works really well for people who are visual people anyway. So A rectangle's got a long side and a short side. So we breathe in on the short side, and usually we want to breathe in for about 4 seconds, nice and deep. And then we want our exhale to be twice as long as the inhale. So about 8 seconds. Now, it's always a bit of a challenge for pregnant ladies that I teach, because the bigger your baby gets, the harder it is to get the oxygen in. So as long as you exhale for longer than the inhale, make it last longer, as long as you can, before you breathe in again, nice and deep. And just follow that rectangle round, okay? So nice deep breath in and slowly out. And when you do that, just try and relax your jaw, just relax your body, relax your shoulders, and allow everything to be open, not tense. Okay, so breathe in through the nose and slowly out through the mouth. Okay, now if you can find a larder cupboard, go and hide in there where the children won't find you, just for a couple of minutes, and nice, slow, rhythmical breathing with your eyes closed. Just allow that tension just to ease and seep away, soften and relax the shoulders, and see if you can find a little moment of calm and balance just to reset your system and tip you back into the parasympathetic. So that is tool number 1, and one that you can probably do anywhere. Preferably not while being badgered by a child or hit with a bit of Lego, but you know, if you can find somewhere quiet in the house, maybe in the loo, lock the door, get with some breathing. The second one, which is actually really helpful, certainly at bedtime, is called muscle tensing. Now, if you can't get out for a really good run, which is this physical way of releasing the adrenaline in the system and the cortisol and completing that stress cycle, is we can do systematic muscle tensing. So all you do is you lay down or you sit somewhere, close your eyes, and you focus on the muscle groups in your body, starting down at your toes all the way up to your face, and you hold and tense each muscle group as you think of them for a count of 10, and then release them off. So you do your feet and toes, then you pull your feet up, then you do your calf muscles, then your thigh muscles, your quads, your glutes, everything all the way up until you're at your face and your eyes, and you scrunch everything up, and then release and relax it back down. And in doing so, we release some of this adrenaline and the lactic acid that's probably sat there in your muscles at that point. A great one that I love, the next one I'm going to suggest, is extended physical contact. Now, you can absolutely do this with your kids. They're not as helpful because they tend to squirm around, but my husband always gives me a funny look when I do this to him. But if you can get hold of someone and give them an uncomfortably long hug, and by that I mean about 20 seconds. So the point that you're having a hug, it's nice, and then someone goes to pull away, and then they sort of realise that you're not going to let go, and so they have to sort of melt into it a little bit. That's the type of hug that I'm talking about. So it needs to last about 20 seconds. Hold on tight, just release and let go. That's a really good way, that physical contact, again, of sending that signal to your body that everything's okay. Another one is an awkwardly long kiss of longer than about 6 seconds. So make sure you don't try and do this with, I don't know, someone who's not your partner. But certainly if they're around, that works as well. Dancing is a great one. If you're trying to entertain the kids at home and we can't necessarily get Joe Wicks and all that physical exercise maintained at his pace, or if you've got an Alexa or anything fun like that in the kitchen that we do, stick on your favourite tunes, have a dance off, really shake it up. Or in the evening with your gin and tonic, put your favourite music on and dance. You need to be moving for about 20 minutes for that to work. Positive social interaction is the next one on my list. This is something that is hard to come by at the moment because we're separated from our loved ones and our closest friends. And I don't know about you, but I still haven't quite got my scheduling and my routine in place enough to be FaceTiming with anyone apart from my parents and my in-laws, which is rubbish. I basically need to get a grip of myself. So I'm going to suggest maybe write a list of people that make you feel happy, people you'd love to chat to, people you can have a bit of banter with, and just schedule a 20-minute catch up whilst you're cooking or in the evening when you've got time. Just that sends that external signal that comes back into your body that says everything's okay, because we're nattering away like old fishwives. Of course everything's okay. Laughter is a great stress relief. Get onto Netflix, find the best comedy stuff that's on there at the moment. There's some really great GIFs and clips being circulated at the moment that are properly belly-wobblingly funny. So have a look at some of those. Rom-coms, shows, any banter. If you've got some really good WhatsApp groups that are good for banter, get people sharing things in there and laugh. Creative expression is one that is on the formal list of stress reduction. But again, finding the time to do that at the moment is going to be a bit tricky. But some things that you could do, like singing, if you love to sing. If you love to sing but in the privacy of your own car, quite frankly, find 10 minutes to go and sit in your car. You don't necessarily have to go for a drive, but put the radio on nice and loud and sing along to your favourite music. Make a playlist, listen to it whilst you're doing the housework. Anything that makes you feel passionate. Bit of rock music, anything like that you like. So my challenge to you then is pick something that I've just suggested that you think, I could weave that into my schedule. I could weave that into my day, and get it into your day. Make the time to look after yourself, because anxiety is something that builds, and it builds and builds in your system. And at the moment, I would say that we're all in a situation where it's likely to happen. Some of us are predisposed to it. Some of us are really great at managing anxiety because we know we've got it and we've been managing it well anyway. But the environment that we're in at the moment is making it worse. And part of it is to do with this locus of control. We have this problem where we have people who believe that things that are within their control make them feel okay about life. And things that are outside of our control make us feel anxious, and that things are just going to happen to them anyway. And it depends where you sit on that locus of control as to how you're feeling right now. And if you're someone who's very controlling, very organised, and likes to be in control of your life, you're probably going to find at the moment that this global pandemic is making you feel phenomenally uncomfortable, because you can only control your own little circle of influence. And even then, going to Tesco's, you might feel like it's taking your life into your own hands. The other thing that will be making a big difference to women is the fact that there is a real relationship disparity and a role change going on at the moment. For those of us sat at home who still have jobs to do, who are also looking after children, naturally the role of primary caregiver always falls, or most often, falls with women. Even if partners and other family members are there and helping out with the kids always default to mummy, and that is going to grate after a while. It's going to really piss you off, and that is going to make getting anything done really even harder. So my top tip in terms of trying to organise yourself at the moment is to not try and do everything. I read a great quote today that said that, being a teacher, being a full-time mum, and having a job are three very different full-time jobs. And at the moment, we've got the impossible task, some of us, of trying to do those three things together. And if you're unable to put your business on hold, a bit like I've done, if you're unable to put the schooling on hold because you've got exams coming up, or you're worried about children falling behind, or quite frankly you just need something to keep them engaged and motivated, then you're going to have to juggle. And you can't do two things at once. You can't get on with a business phone call, you can't get on with an email when you've got children asking you questions and interrupting you. It's just really annoying, and you get angry and you get snappy, like that leaky sponge I was talking about, and it's not acceptable. It's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you. So either divvy up your day, get up slightly earlier, find some time for yourself, find some time to get some work done, and get a rest later in the day, or go to bed earlier, or divide your day up, and quite frankly lean on some of the tools that you've got, whether they're televisions or iPads or iPods. Let the children listen to music, but don't try and do two things at once, because it is going to make you feel much more stressed. So hopefully some of the things that I have suggested in releasing that stress cycle, completing that stress cycle, and releasing that anxiety are helpful. Give me a shout, anyone, if you want to talk about any of them anymore. I am available one-to-one, just to chat on the phone or FaceTime. I've also got other ideas that I can share if anyone wants me to come on again and talk about something else that could be helpful. But I shall let you get on with your evenings. Lots of love to you all. You are all complete superheroes at the moment. Keep doing what you're doing. And even if all you're doing right now is staying afloat and bobbing and waiting for a point where you can push forward again, that point will come. If we can help in any way, reach out. Just take it easy. Rest up, find some time for yourself, and take care. And hopefully I'll speak to you all again. Bye.